Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jacob Restituto, and I'm a musician from Northport, New York. And today we have the absolute pleasure of having Matt Howard here on the channel, from very well known from Matt and Abby. We've got millions of followers all over the social media world. So, Matt, thank you so much again for coming back as a follow-up interview of almost about 3 years later,
That's
which is
crazy.
wild.
It's crazy to hear you say that because I never would have thought ever that I would have ever had like a million followers. I didn't even know what that was. Like that wasn't even a thing growing up, like this social media stuff. So I don't know, tremendously grateful. Thank you for having me, man.
My pleasure, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. So, kind of following up from our previous interview, a lot has changed in both of our lives since then. We are both have become parents since then. So, congratulations to you and Abby on that.
Thank
It's a
you.
very wild journey.
Yes, that's awesome. I didn't know that you were a parent as well. So congratulations to you. I think you were telling me we moved the Zoom call because I think you said you needed help with the baby. So like that's awesome that you're a dad as
Yeah.
well. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah. My wife had run out of the house to run an errand, and she wasn't back yet. And I knew you'd understand. So,
Dude, it's funny. Like I've been diving into like writing music this year, and like every songwriting call I'm on, because I do them over Zoom, I'll like have my son strapped to me, and I'm just like bouncing the whole time with him, and then just like spitting out lyrics, and I'm like, oh, this would be a good lyric, and then I'm just like trying to keep the binky in. So like I totally know how you feel.
Dude, 100%. So actually, let's go right into that because that was one of my. I have four talking points for this conversation, and that was one of my talking points. So let's go right into the music. As a musician myself, I was really intrigued and really impressed with the music, man. The music is really great.
Thanks,
And I'm not just blowing smoke because like, let's be real. Like, I feel like I'm gonna be honest. I feel like somebody does well on social media and they're like, oh, I released a song, and they're like, so many people, and they're like, oh, okay, cool, but like half the time the songs aren't that great. And when I heard your track, I was like, yo, this is legit. Like, this is crazy. And then I did a little bit of research, and you've been a musician for a while. I mean, I found that you Shawn Mendes and Justin Bieber's covers from many years back, and like, so you've been doing it for a while. And it's not like even back then, like you had talent. You know what I mean?
thanks,
So like,
man. I so
of
appreciate
course,
I so
absolutely.
appreciate that. No, I ever since I was like 3, I would perform for my family when we'd have like gatherings for the holidays, and
That's great.
I grew up doing theater, so that was a big part of my life. I sang in church growing up. I sang to girls at football games when I was a kid. Like I figured out that apparently girls like it if you can like serenade them. So when I was a kid, I would literally like go as a middle schooler. I was like, yeah, anybody wants to hear a song, and I would like sing it. I don't know. It's like so cringy looking back, but at the same time, like I've just always
But it worked. It
I
worked though, man.
I've always loved
There's a
performing.
reason Justin Bieber had 20 million girls at
Well,
all
that
every
that's what it was,
concert.
dude. Is like I saw one of my neighbors was like, Matt, this kid Justin Bieber like got discovered on YouTube. You should upload to YouTube. And so I uploaded a video of me singing "Baby" when I was 13 years old, thinking that like that's all I needed to do. I uploaded my
Yeah.
one video, and now hopefully like a producer somewhere in the on this planet will see it, and then I'll get like signed to a label. I had literally no idea how any of this stuff works. And so I posted that video. Obviously, nothing happened. And then later, I was like, you know what? Like, as a senior in high school, I was like, man, I really, if I want to do this music thing, like, I really need to put out videos of me, like, performing, singing, whatever. So I got in a little kick of posting videos of me performing covers on YouTube in my senior year. But then it kind of ended right there, and I didn't stay with it. I didn't really understand how the industry worked. I didn't
Mm.
know that like for me to make it as an artist, I really needed to put in the work and put in like yeah, like years of work and really grind for it. And so like I don't know, I just put out those songs thinking that maybe something would come of it, but I didn't really understand how artists made it, and I kind of gave it up and focused on theater, thought I was going to pursue a career on Broadway, but then Abby and I went to college together and decided, you know what, we're going to focus on a relationship rather than our careers because that's more important to us than a career. And then, like, eventually social media happened and TikTok happened and we got married while we were in college and so much more. But I'm rambling at this point. But yeah, man, it's crazy now to be 25 with 2 kids and
Yeah.
getting back to the music. It's been
Yeah.
so much fun, and I'm very thankful.
It's really interesting to piggyback on what you said. The full circle of your conversation right there is, you always were a performer. You did all these performing arts, whether it be music or theater or, all these different things. And now social media comes back, and you started posting on YouTube and everything, which is social media, and nothing really came about. You continue to do your thing, and then now here we are back, however many years later, and we're back at the music. It's like this cool, like, it's almost like it was meant to be. It's just when you originally tried it wasn't the right time. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Well, I think it would have been the right time if I would have put out 200
Mm.
videos of me singing. I bet you one of them would have taken off and I could have figured out a way to monetize or maybe get sponsorships earlier on, but I just didn't stay consistent. I didn't put in the work. Um, and
Would you say that that is the key to success on any platform?
100% putting in the work and making yourself 1% better every day. Because if you just put out videos,
Mm.
like anybody can put out a video, but it's like if you're always figuring out a way to make a better video every time you post, upload or whatever, um, you're just gonna get better over time. And so I think that's why, like the way we started on social media, we were doing YouTube for a while. It didn't work. I failed. I
Mm.
I was so frustrated because I posted videos on YouTube for about a year and nobody really watched them. But what happened is after about a year of YouTube, I was about to give up, and then TikTok came around, and I was like, I guess I'll like this will be like my last thing. I'll try this silly TikTok app, see what happens. And one of our videos took off. And I was like, okay, let me take all this work ethic that I have on YouTube because like
Mm.
you're working for free. You're posting all these videos for free. You're not making any money at all. No one's watching them. And it's a gamble, really. But I
Mm.
took that work ethic and then I applied it to TikTok. And that's how our TikTok grew because Abby and I had learned this perseverance through YouTube.
I didn't know that actually. We didn't even talk about that in our original video or interview about the YouTube first. Was it a similar style of content, or was it totally different, or before TikTok on YouTube?
What's funny is so Abby and I grew up dancing and doing theater, and that's how we met. So uh TikTok was really just dance videos at first.
Mm.
That was
Mm-hmm.
the it thing that was popular. And so we would just post videos of us dancing as a couple and they went viral. And so we just kept doing it. But I quickly noticed that the platform was evolving. And so we evolved our
Mm.
content and started to like at first people didn't even know what we sounded like. They never heard our voices because it was always audios with us dancing. But like throughout all of that growth, we were consistently pushing our YouTube because I knew that YouTube was a safer play on
Mm.
potentially making this into a job because I was like, this is crazy. This I never thought in a million years that I could do this. The goal for me was really a side hustle, to be honest. I was like, this would be
Mm-hmm.
so cool if I could work in finance. I get my degree in finance from Missouri State University where I went to school and I could just do this creative side project and it'll make, some extra cash that we can like go on an extra vacation a year or something. That's really how it all came about. But yeah, we pushed people to the YouTube channel and that helped us um monetize at first because we weren't getting paid at all on TikTok. Like TikTok didn't have the creator fund, they didn't have the creator beta program like they have now. But YouTube had YouTube AdSense, and so we got people to YouTube so that we could actually get paid.
That's so interesting, man. And and obviously it's paying off now. So too. So to kind of again piggyback on what you were talking about, the work ethic of posting videos, staying consistent, taking what you've learned and adapting to the new situation, which would be TikTok, and then continuing to adapt in that. Not just I'd be curious to know what the results of your channel and your career would have been if you had just stuck with dancing videos. I don't know if you guys would have evolved into who you are and the many platforms and the many different things you have today. And that's the interesting part of also being flexible and like you said, 1% better every time you press upload. Something a little different, something a little better, or a little more unique, a little bit more of you, whatever that may be.
Social media evolves faster than any other industry or business that I've ever known. Like it evolves so quickly. And so you have to really study it and be on top of the trends and what's working and which videos the algorithm's pushing out. And I'm so thankful that we diversified early on. I'm so thankful that
Mm.
we started to hire editors to help on the YouTube side. That we started doing that around the end of 2020 and just like taking the money that we made from social media and just like putting it back in the business because it's really stressful. It's like working multiple full-time jobs at once. Like if you think about a traditional production company, you have
Absolutely.
the writer, the editor, the videographer, the on-camera talent. You have like all these different full-time jobs, but when you're a creator on social media, you're filling like all eight of those
Yep.
jobs. And so it's a lot. So I think like I'm very thankful that we luckily thought ahead enough to be like, let's hire an
Mm,
editor so that we can like, get ahead. And even still though, it's like I'm still trying to figure out how to, hire people on to help because it's a lot to do by yourself.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lot.
You are the perfect segue, or you keep It's like you had seen my notes beforehand, and you like everything you say is like, oh, that's the perfect segue into this. So wearing the multiple hats like you just mentioned, it's couldn't be more true. And not only is one role of a creator, like if you're just hypothetically like somebody on TikTok wearing multiple hats as the creator, the writer, the editor, the poster, the marketer, all these different things. But now you guys have so many different businesses, if you want to call it that, within then your career as well. You have the YouTube, which is very different than what would TikTok be, and then which is very different than what your podcast is, and then now your music. Like they're all different things. But going back to music, I'd love to hear a bit about your creative process. First of all, how you even have the time with the podcast,
Yeah.
the TikTok,
Great,
the.
great question.
But then I'd love to hear a bit about like the creative process and what that looks like for you.
Before I say anything else, I wanted to say I hope none of this sounds like I'm complaining at all because like
Oh no, it's the
so
reality though.
I am so
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
I'm so tremendously grateful that I get to do this for my job. Like it's a dream come true. And I know like I got lucky. Like, look, I say all this about hard work. Like you can't make it as a creator without working your butt off. But at the same time, it does take luck. And I have to acknowledge like I did get lucky. And I feel like any person in my position or any like, I don't know, there's luck with that too. So I just feel super, super thankful. But sorry, back to your question
No,
about
absolutely. And to your point though, it does not come off as like complaining, but it's the reality of the work. And people sometimes glaze over that thinking it's just like, oh, I'm just living my normal life. And it is, but it's also your normal life with a lot of extra work.
yeah, and I've
But
learned
yeah, back to
I've learned to be better about setting boundaries though, because like my instinct is just to work all the time and I just get really excited and passionate about things. And so it's like, okay, I need to not work, 90 hours a week because like I have a wife and kids. And so like it's just I've learned recently a really important thing for me is just balance. So I've gotten a lot better about balancing work with time with my wife and kids and friends and family. And so I'm just in a much better space now than I've been for the past couple of years. Because in the beginning, man, it's all survival. Like you don't know. You feel like, man, TikTok might get deleted.
absolutely.
I have to really grind right now to grow this YouTube channel because if TikTok gets deleted, that's my income. It's gone. So, but yes, sorry,
It's
shut
again
up.
very much like you took my notes because one of my questions is work-life balance with family versus work. So thank you very much. So practically, before we even get back to the music, really quickly, since we're on that topic of work-life balance, as a new father myself, I very much relate to that. I've been married to my wife. My wife and I have been together for 13 years, but then we were married 5 years ago, and now we have a baby under one. So all of those things take transitions, right? From going
Mhm.
quote unquote single to like dating, to married, now living with somebody is a very different transition. When you're like you're living separately, and then now like, there's a kid in the mix, and like the kid's a lot of work,
Totally.
you know, and finding that balance of wanting to be a present parent while also trying to build a career, especially somebody like you and I, essentially self-employment, where it'd be one thing if we were like an architect and we put our 9 to 5 in and came home and it's like, okay, cool. Like when there's no 9 to 5, there's always something we could be doing because one, when we're not working, we're not making money. And two, so the more work we do, the more money we make typically. So it's like, where is that balance of like, okay, I need this. I essentially say no to making more money at the moment or, growing the business and say yes to growing the family and because they both, are valuable. It's just, it's the balance. So
I,
I'm curious your opinion.
Yeah, no, I think the key to all of this is there's a time and there's a place for working your butt off and eating rice and beans and just being deep in the grind and
Yeah.
maybe not hanging out with friends as much. And it's like, I don't know, that was kind of where we kind of got forced into that because of COVID, because we were like in lockdown
Mm.
already. But for us, that was that time. I think there's a time and place because when you work really, really hard in the beginning, you have all this growth that comes out of it. And then say you make money out of that, you invest that money. Like there's compound interest, there's the time value of money.
Mm.
So if you get started early, the growth is just exponential. It's like the snowball effect of a snowball. It just builds and builds and builds. So I feel like really putting in the work early on is not a bad play. Working 90 hours a week in your 20s before you have kids or right before you get married or when you're newly married, I don't think that's a bad play, but it's for a season because if you continue that the rest of your life, you're going to get burnt out. It's going to hurt your health. You might die early. Your marriage might fail. Like it can really wreck your life. And so I think there's a time and a place for it. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs fall into that because they don't know when to stop because they see, oh, if I work more, I'll make more money. Um,
Absolutely.
and it's hard because you're like, man, I feel so blessed that I have this opportunity where
Mm,
I can work more and I can, and you look back at jobs that you used to do. Like I used to work at McDonald's and I got paid about $9 an hour at McDonald's. And I would work overtime because then I'd get a time and a half, working at McDonald's the summer
hmm.
that I got engaged to Abby. And so I looked back and I'm like, I'm making so much more money than I did when I worked at McDonald's. Like, I, this is so stupid. Like, why would I not work more right now? But then
Sure.
you have to realize, hey, I need balance in my life. I did my grind season. Now I need to have more balance and, make sure that I'm pouring into my marriage, my kids, my relationships, because those arguably are, you cannot put a price on that. So like those things are
Absolutely.
so much more valuable than anything money could ever buy.
And it's really interesting to piggyback on that to say, speaking from self experience, when we're in that season of the grinding it out and then you transition to a new season, I find for myself, it can be really hard not to judge yourself for not being in that season anymore. And I'm like, man, I used to work 90 hours a week, or I used to put out this many videos or this many songs. And like, I'm almost feeling guilty because like, I'm not working as hard,
Yeah.
truthfully in my life. And I'm like, man, and I feel like a bad business owner or bad musician or creator, whatever the case is, right? But in reality, I'm just putting my work effort. I kind of speaking to myself. I'm trying to remind myself as I tell you this that I'm just putting my work effort into something else, and I'm building something else, and I'm building my family. And I heard I was speaking with somebody recently, and he was we were kind of talking about a similar topic, and he said, on your deathbed, nobody's ever like, oh, can I have a list? Go get my list of accolades of all the things I accomplished, or oh, get me my investment portfolio. No, it's oh, go get my family and my kids and bring them around me. And that's
100%.
truly what matters, right? And then everything else is the icing on the cake, right?
100. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there. You're completely right.
But it's way easier said than done. It's so much harder. It's to live out. But let's go back to your music because we digressed on a hard turn. That my fault.
Oh, you're good.
But I love to hear the creative process. What does that look like? The songwriting is phenomenal, and the production is really really good.
Thank
So let's
you.
talk about both of those.
So,
For the
yeah,
hold on, I want to plug your music a little. I want
thanks.
to plug your music. So, if you haven't heard, Matt has released a bunch of different tracks. Some of the most recent being "Give Me Your Worst," "Best Friends," and "I Like Right Now." I would describe it as like a kind of very heavy Ed Sheeran vibes. As somebody that's a big Ed Sheeran, earlier Ed Sheeran. Let me rephrase it, like the Plus album,
Nice.
which
Okay, thanks.
I vibe with heavy, because my first album was super influenced by that. Singer songwriter pop vibes. And then phenomenal lyrics, like the one of my favorite lyrics that you wrote was "I'll try my best, so give me your worst." Phenomenal songwriting. So tell me about your songwriting process.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's funny. Like with that song, I wanted to have that deep contrast. I wanted to think of,
Exactly.
okay, like what's a first dance song, wedding song that's never been written before? And I was like, what if we went off this idea of like, rather than writing this like super happy song that has all these like our life's gonna be perfect and like
Yeah.
now that we have our love, like everything's gonna be sunshine and rainbows. I was like, what if it's about signing up for the worst? Because I think
Mm,
that's something that everybody that enters into a marriage is signing up for. You're signing up for your spouse's best and you're signing up for your spouse's worst. And I just thought that'd be an interesting spin on a wedding song.
yeah.
And yeah, that kind of was the vision for it. We were looking me and the writer that I co-wrote the song with, Jacob. We
Oh, how ironic is
Oh
that?
yeah, Jake. His name's Jacob. But yeah, like I was like Jacob. I was like, we need a good like we gotta really think because we had started writing the song together, and I'm like, it's not hitting. I'm like, we need something stronger. And so we were looking on websites of like wedding vows. I'd already decided. I was
Dude, I've written so many songs by doing that, stealing lines out of the wedding
yeah, and so
vows and adjusting them.
okay, Jacob, we need to go look at like what the internet has to say about like let's look up like wedding vows on the internet. And one of them was it was like this random wedding vow about giving like asking your spouse to to give you their worst. Am I saying that correctly? And I was like, that's it. I was like, that's the one. I'm like, that's our song. And so we just took that idea and ran with it. And yeah, I mean, gosh, I think Give Me Your Worst is my sixth song, I think. I haven't kept count. Um, but recently, the very first song I ever wrote, I wrote completely on my own, and it was my first song. It's a first song. I released it. I was timid to release it because like whenever you do your first YouTube video, your first whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah,
like
yeah.
you just
It's
know
a very
it could be
distinct
so much
feeling.
better. But I was like, I need to release this and then just keep going. So I released it.
Preach though. I think so many creatives get caught in that place though.
Mhm.
Just as one little thing, especially as a songwriter, I'm really passionate about this because I think that so many people get stuck in that it's not perfect,
Mhm.
and I see it so many with so many talented artists. Like, dude, just put out the record. It's not perfect, but it's so good. Or even if it's not good, you know what I mean? And they get so caught up in that like perfectionism, and they never ever go anywhere. And look at you now though, like you know in your own perspective, you don't think it's great. Some people think it's great, right? You're saying it's not great or your best, but then that gives you the platform to build up after that. But if you just stay stuck and never release that, you'll never grow. So I'm sorry, I'm very passionate about that because I see so many people of my music friends that just don't go anywhere because of that.
No, you're totally right. I've been like studying different artists that have blown up on TikTok. One of them who has a
Mm,
really dude, his podcast is so good. Do you know who Nick D is? He wrote Fine.
of course, absolutely,
Dude,
absolutely.
his
And
podcast,
Connor Price and them, yeah,
yeah, his
absolutely,
podcast, the independent podcast about being
absolutely.
an independent artist and this day and age. I listen to that a lot, just like studying their ideas. And
He's brilliant.
yeah, he's a smart dude. I mean, there's so many smart artists blowing up on TikTok right now, but I've been
Mm,
studying them and trying to like use concepts and ideas that they've come up with to apply to my music and apply to what I'm doing. And that's kind of what I've been doing with this whole music thing is, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to start making stuff, start making music, start making promotional videos for my music and figure it out as I go, you know? And
mm.
it's scary
See,
too because like
absolutely,
because people make fun of you. Like that's just part of the internet, dude. Like
absolutely.
people there's so many trolls online, and like you have to have really thick skin. There was a time
Yes.
um people were I think they were making fun of I saw some like really mean comments at my song I Like Right Now, and it really got me down. But then I Like Right Now went trending on Instagram, and I was like, okay, the song that I like got insecure about because I saw some mean comments, like now it's trending on Instagram because people are really connecting with it and liking it. And I'm like, okay, it's art. Not everyone's gonna like my art.
Mm,
I have to be okay with that. I have to be okay with, not everybody liking what I do. But I know there's an
absolutely.
audience out there for it, and I'm having a lot of fun,
Absolutely.
so I'm gonna just keep doing it.
There's a quote that I really, really, really live off of, and it goes, quality is subjective. And what that means is some people think this is amazing. This conversation right now, some people are like, wow, this is a really great conversation. Some people are like, yo, these guys don't know what they're talking about. And who's right? I don't think I think if you think it's great, then you're right. If you don't think it's great, then you're right for you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's all subjective, especially when it comes to art. It's so different than if you like, oh, is this building structurally sound? Well, like, yeah, because it's not going to get knocked. You can prove that it's not, but you can't prove that your songwriting's great or not great. It's subjective.
Listening to the independent podcast again, they had Ryan Mack, another TikTok artist who's blown up. Such good music. He was told by like a manager or someone he was working with
Yep.
because he used to be in a boy band. He was told that his music wasn't very good. And then
Yeah.
now look at him. Like now he has like over 4 million monthly listeners on Spotify, crushing it. So you're completely right about that.
And even as myself as an artist, I listen to some things and I'm like, I don't totally understand this music. Meaning, I don't get why it's so popular. But obviously, 4 million. I don't know Ryan Mack personally, so I don't know the music. But like 4 million people obviously do like it. You know what I mean? So my opinion really of whether or not I do or don't like it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because obviously people are vibing with it. But you said one comment, and it's so true. Is the thick skin, man? Oh my gosh! It's just as a musician that like says somebody has a YouTube channel related to music, people reach out to me at pretty decent often saying like, hey, I think I might want to be a music. I like music, so I think I might want to be a musician.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's great. And I would never discourage anybody from doing it. But that, like, I think I might want to do music is a really hard pill to swallow as a musician because, like, man, there's nothing else I can do. Like, I have to do music. Like, and that's why I
Yeah.
can get through this thick skin. Like, or like, I can get through the comments. It's just like, I have to, this is what I do. But like, I feel like if you don't love it or not passionate about it, those comments will get you down real quick and they get kick you out real quick.
So true. And I think you have to love the process of it.
Absolutely.
I've learned that. That was actually, so I haven't released the song yet, but I don't know the exact title of the song. I'm still working on the title. I keep going back and forth, but basically the song is about not being happy and like getting to a point where I got everything I ever wanted. I got the girl,
Mm,
got the house, I got the kids. And it's like on paper, like this is what I wanted. I wanted to get married and have beautiful babies and move out of Missouri and go live somewhere with more sunshine, Arizona. And like I don't know, it's just like everything worked out and somehow I'm not happy. Like what the freak? This doesn't make sense. And
yeah.
I think what I've realized is I got too focused on the end goal and not
Yep.
falling in love with the process of what I was doing. So it's been nice getting back into music because I genuinely love it. I have so much fun doing it. And so regardless if people listen or not, I'm gonna keep
Mm,
creating because like it's just a lot of fun for me and the
yeah.
process I can relate to you in that like it's just something that I'm gonna have to keep doing because
Yeah.
that creative void in me needs to be filled.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's talk about production really quickly. What is the production process like? Are you the one making all this music, or are you having somebody do it with you, or what's that process?
Dude, so it's funny you ask about production because I literally had no idea how production worked. And I thought, crap, if I want to release music, I need to learn how to produce all on my own. I have to figure out how to mix, master, do all those
Sure.
things all on my own. And then I realized, like, wait, like there's producers out there that can, like, you can co-write a song together and then they can do the production side. I didn't even know how that worked. So I've been super fortunate to find some tremendously talented producers in Nashville that I've been working with.
Mm,
We've been writing the songs together over Zoom, and then I fly out to Nashville. Probably recently, it's been about like once a month. I'll fly out there, be there for 24 hours, and then just fly back. And that's how I've been writing and producing, or yeah, writing and getting these songs produced. So it's been a lot
that's
of
so
fun.
cool, man. And you know what the benefit to that is, like, you can really hone in on your skill. As somebody, so I kind of grew up on the other side of it, where it's like I started doing music. I don't know, 15 years ago, right? And at that time I was 15-year-old kid or whatever, 13-year-old kid, and like I had no money to hire a producer.
Yeah,
So I just slowly started learning it all. And the benefit to that is now I can do everything. But the con to it is like, well, if I just had focused on like songwriting,
Mm.
would I have been that much better of a songwriter? And just like I could sub out, the mix, and like
yeah.
then I could give it to a mixer who's like the best at mixing, and a master that's the best at mastering, rather than being a jack of all trades where I'm like good at everything. You know what I mean? I don't
But
know
to
the
your
answer to
point though,
that.
so like that's me with editing. So I really have a
Mm,
fundamental understanding of editing content, video. So like when I'm hiring an editor, I can really spot the BS very quickly. I can tell
that's true.
I
That's
can tell
true.
who's a good editor and who's a bad editor. I can
That's
tell who
true.
can tell a story very well. I think you're in a better spot than me that you've produced because now you can, when you work with a producer, you can quickly see this producer's really good and this one's not that great. And then you can also see like when you find a producer that is pricing themselves fairly versus if someone's
Absolutely. Sure.
trying to rip you off, you're like, okay, like you can just see the price of what they're charging versus their skill set. And I think that really comes in handy.
No, it's phenomenal, man. And you have been making some really phenomenal music, so I'm really excited to see what's coming up. So I have one more question for you. I want to talk about there's a phrase, a quote that says success requires sacrifice. So I'm curious if you could give one example of a time where you've felt like you had to sacrifice and say no to things, or some hard choices that you've had to make to get where you are now.
Oh, great question. Um, yeah, I just think like I think the first thing that I needed to do to go all in on social media and go all in on really, I guess, entrepreneurship in a way, which is even weird to say because it's crazy that creatives are
Mm,
also entrepreneurs these days. Like back in the day, I
hmm.
feel like
Yeah,
creators weren't entrepreneurs; they were just like
absolutely.
hired by somebody. But I don't know. I think that the key to allowing for what's happened to Abby and I to happen was delaying gratification.
Mm,
I think that was like the number one thing that we had to learn in order to be in a good financial situation to where we could, work unpaid on social media, hoping that we were able to build up an audience and eventually get, sponsors and brand deals and all that. We had to delay gratification to, build up income so that we could take this risk. And so for us in college, that looked like not eating out. That looked like, not doing a bunch of travel. I mean, we did travel some, but we would, do a road trip and bring our Instant Pot
Mm.
with us and stay at the cheapest Airbnb we could find
That's
and make
great.
spaghetti out of our Instant Pot while we were staying at the cheap Airbnb. So like, you just have to, rather than getting excited and be like, oh, I have the money, so I'll just buy this thing. You have to be like, I have the money, so I'm going to save that money and allow me to focus on these, bigger picture things. And so that really helped us out, allowed us to get our feet on the ground, and super thankful to my parents for just being an amazing mom and dad. They taught me work
Yeah.
ethic when I was a kid, and my mom encouraged me and my brothers to mow lawns for our neighbors when we were, teenagers, to have our own small business in the neighborhood. So super thankful to them, and also getting married young. I think getting married young
Mm.
forced me to grow up fast,
One
mature.
thousand percent. I
Yeah,
couldn't agree more. I got married at 23, and I completely agree with you. It just puts you in a totally different stage of life and
yeah.
thinking that other people do. Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like the getting married young thing probably played the biggest role, to be honest.
And there are sacrifices that you have to make in that too. Like saying yes to certain things and saying no to certain things, and getting married young. There's pros and cons to both of those
And I
things.
didn't even know that this existed, but getting married young, dude, like we got this thing called the Pell Grant because we didn't have very much money. And so we had no idea we were going to get that, but it was like, oh, I guess we don't make very much of anything. So now we got this grant to help with college. And then we also, like, when
Wow.
we were looking at apartments, we looked at this apartment that like looked, it was a nice apartment. And we thought, man, there's no way we could afford this. And we find out it's low income housing. And we're like, well, we're not low income, so we can't live here. And then I realized, like, wait a second, we are low income. Like, we don't make very much money. Like, this is our spot. So I don't know. We were able to, those resources really helped us
Yeah.
starting out. And yeah, I don't know. It's the getting married thing. Just Abby and I worked throughout our whole entire time
Yeah.
in college, and it just really helped us, yeah, mature quickly.
Absolutely. It couldn't be more true, man. But it's the best.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for coming up for a follow interview. I'm glad we got to talk about your music because that's been one of the many things that have changed since our last conversation. One of the most recent and most exciting, at least for a musician myself, to see a fellow musician kind of, really pushing out his music there. It's been really cool to watch. So thank you so much for taking the time. And I want to say thank you to all the viewers that watched this. Definitely, if you hadn't heard Matt's tracks, if you haven't heard Matt's tracks, go check out the songs. You can stream them everywhere and go use them in a or a YouTube short or TikTok or I saw that recently you posted on Instagram that it had like one of your videos had like 13,000 videos made with it, which is a wild. So like one of your songs had 13,000 videos made with it. Like so, go get on that and make some videos with Matt's songs.
Thank you so much, Jacob. I really appreciate that, man. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Absolutely. Likewise. All right. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. God bless and peace out.